This is usually when I come and speak in different AISH programs and other Jewish programs, this is in the past, before this year, this has been the topic I've been asked to speak about. My first book, The Art of Amazement, which is a book for people looking for spirituality to find what Judaism has to offer you. This is the latest one, which it's not even really a book, it's like a booklet about why should we be Jewish? I was asked tonight to speak about book number 2, Body and Soul, The Torah Path to Health, Fitness, and a Holy Life. It was about 10 years of R&D of Torah and medical sources. I have a medical co-author, I have a medical advisory board, and I have over 100 rabbis worldwide who participated in putting this together. And it started out as a project because people were asking me. The Torah is a book or a set of books of wisdom, ancient wisdom, about all topics. Does it include wisdom about health and fitness? And when I started the project 10 years ago, I couldn't answer that question. And I wanted to know. So it started as a research project. And everybody knows, it's common sense, you should be healthy. But is it a mitzvah? And if it is a mitzvah, what are the parameters of the mitzvah? To what extent should one worry about it? I got lots of mitzvahs to do. I know a lot of things I've got to do. I'm a busy person. How much time and energy should I devote to this mitzvah as opposed to every other mitzvah that I care about doing? So that was the question that led me to do this project. And just show of hands, I'm just curious. Before you came or heard about this talk tonight, how many people here already would have said, yes, it's a mitzvah to stay healthy, to be healthy or make healthy choices? Roughly half, maybe a little more than half? Right. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess it partly depends on how you define mitzvah, right? What is a mitzvah after all? Do you have a definition of what a mitzvah is? Did you learn already? I don't know if you've been studying for years and years, or if this is a new thing to you. How do you understand the word mitzvah? Anyone?
Positive commandment.
Commandment?
Positive commandment.
A positive commandment? That's a nice definition. Any other definitions of what a mitzvah is?
A good deed.
A good deed. Okay. What else? Okay. I don't know about you, but I don't like being commanded. It's kind of heavy. I like doing good deeds. But here's something interesting. Everybody knows if someone asks you for a donation, for charity, for tzedakah, it's a good thing to give. If they're a needy person, it's a good deed, right? Mm-hmm. If I give someone tzedakah, let's say I was raised by really good parents who train me, every time someone asks you for money, give them $1. Just do it, so I do it automatically. Did I do a good deed if I gave them $1? Yes. Did I do a mitzvah? No. Mitzvah is a good deed or a commandment, but it has another layer on top of it. To be called a mitzvah, it requires one other aspect than just the action. Anyone want to guess what that is?
Connects you with Hashem.
I like that answer. Can you say it real loud so everybody can hear you?
It connects you with Hashem.
Well, I just would, I'm really worried when I talk to an unknown audience when people start talking about God. Like, okay, it sounds a little religious, okay? So maybe I'll go there, but let's use the word connect to start with, okay? Mitzvah, the root of the word mitzvah is tzav, which has something to do with a connection, exactly like you said, okay? So it's a very nice answer. So what makes it a connection versus not a connection? What do you want to say? Go ahead.
What about intention?
Attention?
Intention.
Yeah, that's exactly what the right answer. Give this guy a fist bump, okay? In order to make it a connection, I have to have the intention. It's up here that makes it a mitzvah. Not just the action, but I have to have the intent, the intention, the mindfulness, the awareness. So if I'm a sleepwalker, and in my sleepwalking I go and put a nickel in the tzedakah box, I didn't do a mitzvah. Okay? Did the tzedakah get given? Yes. But it doesn't count, so to speak, as a connection without that intention or that mindfulness. Okay? Yeah, what did you want to say?
Well, I was just going to ask, can you have one without the other and it still be a mitzvah? And if so, which of the two, right? So if you intend to do a certain act, right, that would count as a mitzvah, then maybe you try to do it, but you don't succeed in actually doing it.
Do you get the assist? Is that what you're asking?
That's right, you get the assist.
Do I get the assist?
I want to save the cat from the tree, and I try, but I can't jump up there. I'm not good at climbing the tree. The cat's still up there. I tried, but
No, you call the fire department.
I call the fire department, and sometimes they go up and save it. So how
If the mitzvah is to give this person $1, and I hold out the dollar, and as it comes out of my hand, a big wind comes up and blows it out of my hand, and it flies off, and he doesn't get the $1. Did he get the $1? No. How can I say I did the mitzvah? It wasn't completed. Do I get, brownie points for attempting to? Of course, sure. You get a fist bump for the try, for the effort.
But let's say you're walking down the street and $1 slips out of your pocket, and the guy just takes the $1 and says, "Oh, thank you very much."
And that's the example I gave before. Without the intent, you don't have the mitzvah. So there's a rule in the Talmud. By the way, when I ask the same question to Jews who've been educated very Jewishly, they went to Jewish day school, they went to yeshiva or seminary, they often don't have a clear answer to this. If you feel like you're confused, it's normal to be confused. If you look in the Talmud about Hebrew language, and it says if you want to understand any concept that we're talking about, whether it's a mitzvah or any other, the key is to find the first time it appears in the Torah. Because the first appearance of that term in the Torah, the context that you'll find there, you have to analyze the text, will teach you about the root or the essence of that term. So we've been, bandering here a bit about mitzvah, but now let's do a little bit of verbal or Torah archaeology and go find the first time the mitzvah, the word mitzvah appears in the Torah, and we'll take us a step deeper. And I've posed this question to, like I said, educated Jews in Orthodox shuls, and in my informal polling, 8 out of 10 get it wrong. Okay? So after tonight, you're going to be in the cream of the crop, or you already are the cream of the crop, even cream of the crop, okay? Most people, when I ask them this question, who've learned a little Torah, think, what's the first time you see mitzvah in the Torah? They answer, be fruitful and multiply. Number 1, on Maimonides' list of the 613 mitzvahs, that's his first one. Number 2, it is the first mitzvah in the Torah, except there's a catch. It doesn't use the word mitzvah. There's no word mitzvah there. It just says God said to them. But it doesn't say he commanded them or mitzvah them. If you want to find the first time the Torah uses the word tzivui, tzaveh, mitzvah, is by the first humans in the Torah, Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, and God commands them. What does he say to them? From every tree in the garden you shall eat, except for this one tree, which is forbidden. You hear this? The concept of mitzvah, of commandment, good deed, the Torah is teaching us the root of that, the essence of that, is wrapped up in the idea of what you should and should not eat. Whoa, that's big. That's big. This is really interesting. And also, in that same passage, we see the first appearance of the word taiva, desire. That passage is teaching us about the essence of mitzvah, and has something to do with eating and not eating, and this is the essence of what it means to be human. It's very interesting. Self-control around eating. I don't know a single human who has not experienced this challenge. We have lots of tavas, lots of desires, but most of our desires, maybe every other desire except for food, we can go a long time without fulfilling. food is the one we can't really go a day without fulfilling. Even Yom Kippur, we eat a lot before, we eat a lot after. You really can't go a day without eating. Any other tava, any other desire you could probably put off and survive. I'm talking about where you have a choice, not talking about breathing. I'm talking about voluntary fulfillment of desire. Food is the one we have to have every single day. It means every day we have this challenge of eating and self-control around eating. Isn't that interesting? And this is what the Torah is trying to teach us, that how does the Torah describe the original human beings? You may not learn this in this group or informally, but I'm sure you did learn it somewhere. You heard that the Torah describes humanity as being created how? In the blank of blank. In the image of God. Very nicely said. You pulled that right out of your hat, right? In the image of God. Raise your hand if you ever heard that idea before, that we were created in God's image. You heard that before? I kind of made a tongue-in-cheek comment about your reference to God earlier, because in my humble experience, perhaps the biggest stumbling block ever created for Jewish spirituality in all of history was a guy named Michelangelo. You know what I'm talking about? Because he gave us literally a cartoon image of God. 500 years ago, he painted that famous Sistine Chapel, the image of the guy with the long white beard reaching out to the naked guy. You know what I'm talking about. It's the most famous image in the world, right? And if you look at every cartoon ever where they want to depict God, it's always a guy with a long beard. That comes from Michelangelo. You hear this? So I've taught this this topic many times. I often use PowerPoint slides, and I show a lot of cartoons just to get people laughing. There's tons of cartoons out there that show this image. And after teaching this for like 20 years, it finally dawned on me why Michelangelo did use that image. You know why he did? Because they believe that, who is the Son, right? So he made the Father look like an old version of the Son. Get it? That's my own insight. You hear? I think that's true. I could be wrong, but I bet that's why he did it. So when people say in a group where I don't know everybody, if someone talks about God, I'm really worried about people thinking, oh, he's talking about this cartoon, right? We have to kind of erase that idea from our heads. Because if the Torah says we're made in God's image, what in the world does that mean? Does God look like that? I mean, I don't even have a long white beard. So none of us are made in God's image according to that, right? If that's what does God look like? What does it mean to be made in God's image? Did you ever think about that? This is like one of the most important things you can know about being human. You're made in God's image. You don't know what it means. So according to our rabbis, it's not an actual. You're not made in God's image is not how you look, obviously. An infinite creator, infinite being doesn't have an image in that sense. What it is it's a potential. You have the potential, you and I have the potential to become godly in certain ways depending on the choices we make. Depending on the choices we make. And what's the most fundamental choice that makes you godly every day? Self-control of your tava. Self-control of your desires. When you have a desire, oh boy, I'd sure like to eat that, fill in the blank, that big bowl of ice cream. But I know, it's really, it's not going to be good for me. When you decide not to eat that, and you overcome that tava, that self-control, that choice you made makes you godly, makes you like God. That self-control. And it's a series of, thousands and thousands of these choices we make throughout our life that makes us, we have the opportunity to become more and more godly. And that's why we have a long life, say the rabbis, to give us the opportunity to become more and more godly every day, every week, every year, and so on. That's what it means to be made in God's image. We're given this potential to be godly through our choices. And that, I believe, is the root of this topic tonight of the mitzvah of being healthy. Because, and I'll give you an example. I'm talking about food, and I'm not only going to speak about food tonight. We're going to talk about other health topics that the Torah talks about. But starting with food, since that's the first one. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands for this, but like everybody I know, including myself, at least once in their life has tried to lose weight, been on some kind of diet, or maintain their weight, not gain weight. Why do diets fail?
Discipline.
If it's a lack of discipline, then boy, you can be really critical of a failed dieter. You just lack discipline. It's your problem. It's your fault. You don't have the right discipline. You don't have the right self-control. I don't think that that's the key to it. And I think, by the way, before you answer, this is a major question because, as we know, overweight and obesity is a huge topic of health concern for Americans and really worldwide. Now they say that in China, something like 20% of the adolescents are entering that danger zone of their weight. In China, when I was a kid, China was like, they're starving in China, and now it's not that way anymore in most of the world. So this is a big topic. The WHO, the World Health Organization, in the year 2000 declared this a worldwide crisis, and yet it's gotten worse, not better. So why have they not solved this, all the experts? I believe because they haven't learned the Torah. I believe the Torah answer to this, that I've already given you kind of the answer to, but I'll flush it out, is really the solution. And it's related to what you said about discipline, but it's, I think, more fundamental. The problem with diets is that your goal is to lose weight. If your goal is to lose weight and you succeed, you know what you do? You stop dieting. And if your goal is to lose weight and you fail, you know what you do? You give up. That's why diets fail. Weight Watchers, the average person who signs up for Weight Watchers stays in for about 9 months. That's it. It's very hard to get statistics on this, but as part of my research, I dug, and I found that it's thought that maybe 15% of people who do Weight Watchers achieve their goal over a long term, 5 years or more. 15%. It means 85% are failing. Overeaters Anonymous, more successful, maybe about a third succeed in the long term. That means 2/3 are not. Okay? But the good news is that 30% are succeeding and 15% of it. So what do they do differently? What do those success stories do that we can learn from? And by the way, this is a very Torah approach. Instead of trying to lose weight, they decide today, maybe tomorrow, because you got nice food out there. But tomorrow, I'm going to try to eat a little healthier for one day. See if I can eat a little bit healthier for one day. And they don't just say it in general terms, they define what that means. Tomorrow, instead of having the full iced coffee I have every day, I'm going to have 2/3 and throw the 1/3 away. I'm going to try to do that for 5 days in a row. And by those meaningful, small, daily, incremental changes, that's how you succeed at really any goal. It doesn't, not just about food. But that's the issue. The issue is not trying to set some long-term, I've got to get to a certain weight, certain amount of pounds. It's got to be, can I change the way I eat forever? For the rest of my life, I don't want to have a full iced coffee. I want to have 90% of one. I'll throw 10% away. And once I achieve that 10% reduction, maybe after a couple weeks I'll go another 10%. But I'm not going backwards. I've made that permanent change. That's how a smart, intelligent person achieves their goal, both goals. And the real goal is that conquering of the tava, the conquering of the desire, so that it's not controlling me, I'm controlling it. It's funny because people see this book, and they know about it, and they assume that I'm like anti-sugar. And I'm not. I have a whole chapter on sugar, by the way. I'm not anti-sugar. I have sugar, but I'm anti-overdoing it. There's a way of being in balance. And I myself, used to I drink a lot of coffee, and I used to put a lot of sugar in my coffee. A lot of sugar. And I needed to. I felt like I didn't enjoy it without sugar. But then I was learning this. I learned this magic about being able to change your taste. You ever heard this before? You can change your taste? Fascinating. So I heard this. Allegedly, you can change your taste. Allegedly. Now, I can tell you the physiology behind that because I've learned it. Your taste buds, you have millions of taste buds. The average taste bud, the gustatory cell that's in your taste bud, lives for about 6 weeks, and then it dies. Your taste buds are constantly making new gustatory cells, not in the same place. They're all over your tongue, right? So if you slowly change the quantity, for example, of sugar in your food, the new cells that are born they won't know the old amount of sugar. They'll only know the new amount. So as over time, you can retrain your entire palate to enjoy literally a different amount of sugar or bitter or whatever it is. I wanted to test this. I did it myself. Instead of putting 2 sugars in my coffee, 2 packets of sugar, I put 1.9. Hardly noticed difference. Did that for a few days. I went to 1.8. Sure, it only took 6 weeks. It was 0 sugar. I couldn't believe it. I never thought I could drink no cream, no milk. I never thought I could. I was teaching high school students once, and I told them this, and I told them I do it with cocoa too. Rock Hershey's cocoa in a mug, Aztec style, pour the hot water, no sugar. My students thought I was lying. They brought it to me. I love it. You couldn't drink it. You would spit it out. It's so bitter. I trained my taste buds to enjoy it. One baby step at a time. You can do this with any tava, with any desire you have. The key is slow and calculated. Don't guess, measure, do it slow. This is the way you can change any habit. And this is such an important lesson for Rosh Hashanah coming up next week, God willing. That, you realize, I really am not going to bed on time, or I'm looking at my screen too much. Go cold turkey. If you're a smoker or a vapor, go cold turkey, you'll probably fail. It's going to backfire. Take a tiny baby step and make it permanent the rest of your life. You're not going to go backwards. It'll be permanent. This is the Torah path to health and fitness. But it gets even better than that. But you can interrupt me with questions anytime. Because someone in the back mentioned the idea of mindfulness, paying attention to make it a mitzvah. So if I tell you that taking care of your health is a mitzvah, and I'll tell you why in a minute, why I think it's a mitzvah. If you decide, you know what, it'd be healthier for me to have a little bit less sugar in my coffee, right? Be healthier. Now, before tonight, you might do that just because it's common sense. But now that you know it's a mitzvah, if you have in mind when you put that 1.9 packets of sugar in your coffee, that it's a mitzvah, you've elevated it spiritually. You've made it a spiritually connected event. Awesome. It's awesome. And there's so many things you probably already do during the day that are healthful, health promoting, and you didn't even realize it. And once you read the book and you know it's a mitzvah, you're going to be able to elevate that experience. Even washing your face in the morning. It's a mitzvah. We put it in the book. It's a mitzvah to wash your face in the morning. But you have to have the right intention, the right kavanah. And if you have that kavanah, you've done the same. It doesn't take any more time. It doesn't cost anything. But you've elevated that action of common sense washing your face in the morning to a mitzvah. Isn't that beautiful? You can do this with everything in the book. Even brushing your teeth. Even flossing your teeth. Yeah, it's in there. We put a chapter on that. It's a mitzvah. Even going to sleep at night when you're going to be unconscious, hopefully for a good night's sleep. Before you go to bed, if you have in mind, I'm doing this for the sake of my soul, not just the sake of my body, it becomes a mitzvah. It's a beautiful thing. Questions? Go ahead.
Why are some really observant people overweight then?
Ooh. I'm going to repeat the question in case you didn't hear it. Why are there fat Orthodox Jews?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Why are there fat rabbis? That's what you're asking.
I said overweight.
Okay, I'm going to, let's be honest. Why are there fat rabbis? You're asking a great question. If it's a mitzvah to be healthy, how could there be a Jew who knows about the Torah, who maybe even teaches the Torah to look unhealthy. Okay? I said that trying to be humorous a little bit, but it's a valid question. It's a valid question. I told you that there's 100 rabbis whose names are in this book. To get that list of 100, I phoned up about 300. Most of them I didn't know. There's cold calls. It took 2 years. Put off the publication of this book for 2 years. Okay? And of the 200 who said no, they did not give me permission, about half of those said, I do take care of my health, but I don't want to be in the book. Okay, fine. I wasn't pushy. I just, they didn't want to. The other 100 said, I agree that it's a mitzvah. I don't do it properly. I'm not a good role model of that. I know I should be, but I'm not. I have one particular famous Rosh Yeshiva, head of a yeshiva, told me I used to be doing it really well, and then during the pandemic, I fell off the horse, and I just haven't got back on. I need to. Okay? So I guess the real answer is because rabbis are human, it's a universal challenge.
That's my excuse.
I've been told by some readers that every yeshiva should require reading of this, because almost once a week someone tells me usually an Orthodox Jew, tells me they read it, changed their life. So I tell them now, I'll give you a money-back guarantee. If you read it doesn't change your life, I'll give you money back, because I know it will. It's 180 different Torah passages with medical glosses from evidence-based medicine. It's hard to deny. But also I made it baby steps. I'm not telling you have to cut out sugar. I'm saying reduce a little bit. So we did it in a way that anybody could achieve it if you want to. That's the Torah way. So the answer is to your question, because they haven't read the book. They never learned it. And there's Orthodox Jews who are failing in other things too. And that we have a lot of work to do. We're not perfect. There's another problem that's related to your question, which I'm going to address. In Baltimore, where I live, there's a grocery store. Anyone here ever been to Baltimore? So when you come visit, if you come to the Jewish part of Baltimore, you'll probably end up at one point in a place called the 7 Mile Market. Okay? It is, people in LA tell me they've been there because there's like nothing in LA like it. It's a grocery store that's the size of, a Safeway, a very large grocery store that's all kosher. Everything in there is kosher. So now, your question was referring to people who keep kosher, right? And there's a perception out there, even among non-Jews, that kosher equals healthy. Do you know that the people in the kosher industry who supervise food put the OU or the star K or those different symbols on the food? They tell me that a large percentage of their customers looking for that kosher symbol are non-Jews, because the non-Jews have this idea that somehow it's healthier. There's actually no connection. What does kosher really mean? Do you know what kosher? Anyone here keep kosher? It means somehow fit or proper, okay? That sounds kind of like healthy, right? Kind of similar. Seems like it might be in the Venn diagram, they might overlap a little bit, right? Why kosher? Why does the Torah want us to keep kosher? What's the purpose of it? I asked this to a great Torah scholar once, and here's what he told me in a nutshell. By the way, if you find yourself a rabbi, I think you might have some rabbis around, pepper them with questions, because you never know when you have another chance. So I keep a list of questions I have, and when I find these great scholars, I get them my questions. So I wanted to hear, a great rabbi's answer to this question: why kosher? Well, his answer was, you can't eat everything. It's to teach you can't eat everything. It's to teach you to elevate yourself. You have to. Oh, that sounds very much similar to what I was saying before about the forbidden fruit, right? It's the same idea of self-control. That's what kosher's for. It's one of the reasons. There's other reasons, but one of the reasons for kosher is to train us for self-control. So that Venn diagram's looking really overlapping now. So I go into 7 Mile Market, and I think everything here is kosher. Fantastic. And I start filling up my shopping cart, not looking at what? The ingredients. Why should I? It's all kosher. You hear the problem?
Maybe it has high fructose corn syrup or an exorbitant amount of sugar and.
Or unhealthy fats, or all kinds of stuff in there that's not healthy. They've been trained from a young age, kosher okay, not kosher not okay. Oh, they went shopping with mommy when they were a child and into a non-kosher, to a non-Jewish supermarket, and mommy, can I have that? No, it's not kosher, right? So they learned kosher means okay to eat. There's this true story I was told about this woman was in a grocery store and she hears a woman who's clearly not Jewish telling her child, no, it's not kosher, you can't have it. And she went up to the woman, just friendly, said, I just heard you telling your child they can't have that, it's not kosher. You're not Jewish, are you? She said, no. So why are you telling that? I'm just curious. Why are you? She said, my child's always pestering me and will never let up. And I see the Jewish children, as soon as the mother says it's not kosher, they're quiet, they shut up. So I started telling to my child. So we get this idea that kosher means okay to eat from a very young age if you're raised that way, right? And it's not what kosher. It's not that's true. It is okay to eat all things being equal, but all things are not equal, and because of the food industry. By the way, it's new. Your great grandparents did not have the challenges we have with sugar and processed food. They didn't have it. There's books been written about this. If you email me later, I'll send. If you're interested in like a good, paperback book just to read about the evils of the sugar industry. It really is a scandalous how starting in the really going back to the 19th century, especially the 20th century, how the sugar industry would lobby to make sure that sugar was in everything that we eat. Like you go to a grocery store and try to find a package that does not have sugar added. It's really hard to do. Crackers, pizza sauce, it doesn't matter what you like. Even baby formula, some of them have sugar in them. They're training us. So we're all addicted to sugar. I'm addicted, you're addicted. You can't escape it. We have this sugar addiction. The question is, what do we do about it? Can we learn to try to eat differently and be aware of it, be mindful? That's an issue, a topic that we all have to struggle with. And if someone is raised that way and doesn't have the tools, we got to get them this book. That's why I wrote the book, for Jews who want to open their eyes and realize I can live differently. And by the way, do you know the term Oneg Shabbos? Oneg Shabbat? What does the Oneg Shabbos mean? Say it again? It means enjoyment. It means a party, Shabbos party. It means having good food on Shabbat. Did you ever have good food on Shabbat? Did you ever have it's a mitzvah to enjoy food. Remember, I told you, where's the first time mitzvah appears in the Torah? What was the first thing God says to Adam about the food? Enjoy. First thing he says, enjoy all these trees. The second thing he says, except for this one. There's a positive mitzvah to enjoy this world. There's a famous story told about the famous Rav Hirsch, who lived in Frankfurt in the 19th century, leader of the Jewish people until about his death in 1887, I think, when he was an old man. Old, elderly man, he lived in Frankfurt, and he had one of his sons take him on a difficult trip at those days to the German Alps. And he came back after a day or two. Maybe he was only gone for a day, and his students all wanted to know what was going on at the Alps. Why was that? What was this all about? At such an old age to make such a difficult trip. He said, I know I'm going to probably not live much longer, and I'm going to die one of these days. And after I die, I was afraid God might be asking me, how'd you like my Alps? And I wouldn't have an answer. What is he trying to teach us? He's trying to teach us we're meant to enjoy this world. We're meant to enjoy it. God wants you to enjoy the world. That's why I wrote a whole book about it. The Art of Amazement is about different aspects of how to enjoy this world. But here's the catch. What's the best way to enjoy? Pick your favorite food. Pizza, sushi. Think about it. I want you to just think right now for a second about if you could choose to have one food when you're looking for a good snack. Okay, think about that food for a second. What's going to give you more pleasure? Eating it as fast as you can or eating it slowly?
Fast.
Really? Are you serious? You don't get more pleasure as you chew it and savor it and let it just melt in your mouth? Then you've never eaten food properly. I'll challenge you. Try this tonight or try this tomorrow. Take your favorite food and try eating it super slowly with your eyes closed and really taste and get the texture and the flavors. If I was the betting man, I would bet you that it'll taste better. What's fascinating about this, not only does it taste better, it's actually healthier. Do you know why it's healthier when you chew your food up? Because the saliva contains enzymes that start digesting your food in your mouth. So that by the time it gets to your stomach, it's already up to 50% digested. It's going to go through your system much better. You're going to have much more efficient use of that food, much less likely to get any kind of stomach aches or other problems. Your entire digestive system is going to feel much better just because you chewed your food. And I promise you, you're going to enjoy it even more. That's a Torah way of eating. With kavanah, with mindfulness, it happens to be that it fits like a glove with the healthy way of eating. That's the beauty of the Torah path to health and fitness, that when you start doing it, it makes you both healthier and holier at the same time. Let's move on from food. What are some other health and fitness topics that you care about that you'd like to know what the Torah says about them? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Was taking care of your image too much, is it considered self-absorbent?
Take care of your what?
Your image?
Your image. You mean your image of God or your image to other people?
Like if you take care of your body.
This is a great question. And it really relates to your earlier question about religious Jews. We have a history of a long, long history going back 2,300 years with another culture called Hellenism. You've heard of Hellenism? What holiday do we deal with Hellenism in? Hanukkah. Yeah? Jews versus Greeks, the Maccabees, the whole story, right? What is Hellenism all about? Hellenism is the glorification of the body. Raise your hand if you've ever been to a gym in your life. You know what the word gym means? Gymnasiums invented by the Greeks. Wherever they went, wherever Alexander the Great conquered, they built gymnasiums. Gymnasium, if anybody here studied biology, you know what the Greek root gymna means. It means naked. Gymnasium means a place to be naked. A place to exercise in the nude. That's what they did. Yes, men only. Sorry, gals. It wasn't for you. Why would they exercise in the nude? Because it's all about your question, the body. That's what it was all about. Can you imagine why Torah Jews might not want to go there? I'm really giving you a Hanukkah story right now. This is a prequel to Hanukkah. This is all about Hanukkah. We fought against these people. We're not going to go to the gym. Are you kidding me? You know, it got to the point where Jewish men who wanted to assimilate into the upper crust of society, they'd have their circumcision surgically reversed. I'm telling, yes, painful would be an understatement. Okay? But that's how desperate they were to fit into this Hellenistic society, some of the men. That's the Hanukkah story. So we understand why we have over 2,000 years of resisting that body-focused culture. So what is the Torah path if it's not about how I appear? By the way, it is how I appeared in a certain way. I mean, there is an idea if I should look nice for my wife. My wife should look nice for me. There's such a thing. If I care about my wife, I'm not going to, if she says to me, I really don't like your haircut, I'm going to try to get a different haircut because I want her to be attracted to me. There's nothing unholy about that. But what's unholy is when I look in the mirror and I care about how it, you know what I'm saying? That's where it crosses the line. Where I look in the mirror and I'm like taking selfies, you know, because I look at, you know, what matters is, I'll make it simple for you. Raise your hand if you hope one day to have children. Raise your hand if you hope one day to have grandchildren. Raise your hand if you hope one day to be able to dance at your grandchildren's wedding. Everyone. Raise your hand if you ever saw somebody who was an elderly person who was unable to dance at their grandchildren's wedding because they couldn't hardly walk. Most of the time, that infirmity that you see in elderly people was avoidable, was preventable, because they didn't take care of their health, including exercise, appropriately, without overdoing it, when they're younger. And lifestyle contributes to cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, 7 or more forms of cancer are largely preventable. You know, and people make choices that prevent them from doing the things they want to do and be strong and be able to dance with their grandchildren's wedding. That's the Torah view of it. If you care about how you look to anyone other than your spouse, your head's on wrong. If you care how you feel, and if you have the strength, if you go to Israel, it's a beautiful sight to see. Most people take the bus in the big cities. They don't have their own cars. There's a lot of cars, but the majority of people don't have cars. They drive by. And you often see a woman with a stroller trying to get on the bus. Any stranger will help her get it on the bus. As long as what? They can. If you don't have the strength to lift a stroller, you're not going to do that mitzvah. There's so many mitzvot, so many good deeds that require strength. And if you don't have the strength, you're going to be excluded from those at one day. So taking care of your health, whether it's for your own children or your neighbors or perfect strangers, that's the Torah motivation. You know, so I can be strong, and it turns out when I exercise, Harvard studies have shown exercise, the right kind, you don't have to overdo it, improves your memory. Anybody here like to have better memory? Improves your concentration. Anybody here like to have better concentration? Gets you better night's sleep. Anybody here like to have a good night's sleep? So the time it takes, actually, if you do it in the right way, you actually gain time by needing less sleep and be more efficient in everything you do, whether it's with your head or your hands. So there's great reasons to take care of your health, but the motivation, I hope, will always be because I want to do good things in the world. Well, I want to do good things in the world, and this is why. Now, there's another motivation, and I'd like to reflect upon it, give you the following analogy. Tell me what is like the dream car for you. Like if money was no object. Come on, be honest. Money's no object. You have $1 billion. What's the first car you're going to buy?
Toyota RAV4. Metro edition, blue flame. With the towing package.
What was it called?
Toyota RAV4. It's kind of a joke. It's a mid.
Okay, can I pick one that more people relate to? I mean, I don't know if you care about a Rolls Royce, but I'll take a Rolls Royce. I mean, if money was no object, would anyone here, would you drive a Rolls if you had one, if you could afford one? Yes or no? What if you have a chauffeur, to drive your own? No? Not a Rolls? What? Pick a car. No? You don't? I'm in Los Angeles. I figured they're going to roll off your tongue. An LX. A Lamborghini. Okay. You come home. What if you go home tonight? Imagine this scenario. You go home tonight, and parked in front of your house is fill in the blank, a Rolls Royce, Lamborghini, brand new, parked tonight. And there's a big ribbon around it. And there's a card on it. You look at the card, and your name's on the card. Tonight. And you're like, what's going on here? This is weird. The rabbi just talked about it, and it's actually happening. And you open up the card, and it says in the card, "Dear so-and-so," your name, "you're such a good neighbor. I wanted to show you my appreciation. So I bought you this car. And it's my gift to you. And in case you're worried about taking care of it, encloses a credit card. Use it for fuel and whatever it needs. And don't worry, it's on my insurance. Question for you. If that scenario were to actually happen, is there any chance you would ever put regular unleaded gasoline in that car? Not a chance. Is there any chance you would ever miss a oil change? Knowing that your neighbor's like watching out the window to see how you're taking care of the car? How could you think about that? What if it were you knew that it were the only car you would ever own? Do you realize that your body is a million times more precious than the most complex, expensive car that was ever built or that will ever be built? How is it possible that you would put anything but the highest grade fuel into your Rolls Royce that you're given for free? Think about it. What does that say to the one who gave it to you about how you appreciate this gift when you put junk fuel into your, or if you don't take a walk once a day, move your legs and get off the chair as you know you should be, and stretch and do the basic movements to keep this Rolls Royce healthy, that daily work. What does that say about your gratitude to the one who gave it to you? Yeah, I don't care. I take it for granted. Anyone who really thinks about it should be motivated to say, you know what? No one's perfect. People make mistakes. We have issues. But I should be motivated to. When should I be motivated to? To take care of my body? Yeah, all the time. At least once a day. At least every morning. I should wake up thinking, today I can make a good day of taking care of my body. You know, yesterday I kind of fell off, but today, right? Every morning, I challenge you to wake up and think, I'm going to try my best to take care of this Rolls Royce. You know, I'm not asking you to be perfect, but have that intention, that mindfulness. And then every action you do that is, as you believe to be health promoting, know that you're doing a tremendous mitzvah. That when you conquer that tava, that desire, even one little conquest, here's what you can do. This is in the book. I'm giving you lots of previews of the book. Next time you have a plate of food, I don't know about you, but because they're supposedly starving in China, I'm supposed to clean the plate, you know? Don't you want, and it's delicious food, don't you want to have that last bite? Don't have it. Throw it away. That act of just not eating that last bite, tremendous spiritual growth you get from just that little action. Just say, no, I'm not going to eat the last bite. It's actually brought down in the Torah books that's the Torah way, the spiritual way that a Jew eats. Not only do you savor your food and taste and let it roll over your tongue, you actually don't eat the last bite. Leave one bite on the plate. It's a beautiful idea. You start that tonight. Just throw it away. And by doing so, you're exercising that self-control muscle. And you're going to see you grow into this greater and greater Tselem Elokim, image of God. That's what we're here for. That's our purpose. That's the reason why you were created, to become a godly being. And I'll just say one last idea on this point, and then I'll take more questions. Did you learn why God created the world? Did anybody teach you that yet? You did already? Not everybody? Thumbs up if you learned, thumbs down if you didn't. Everyone vote. I want to know. Did you learn? Yes or no? Most people did not. Okay. Did you ever wonder? If there is a God, why would this infinite being create a world? Did you ever wonder that? Those who said no. Yeah? The reason God created the world, this is a Rosh Hashanah talk. This will inspire you for Rosh Hashanah. The reason God created the world is to, did you hear on the news today they found a new moon around the Earth? You hear that? It's a funny story. It's not really. It's an asteroid that's so tiny you can't even see it. But technically, an asteroid has been caught by the Earth's gravity, is now orbiting the Earth. It's a tiny little asteroid. So technically, you could call it a moon. If you know where to look, you could see this little dot, right? What makes a moon or an asteroid visible? Light. Which light?
The sun.
Sun's light's bouncing off of it, right? Do you ever see Jupiter or Mars? The sunlight's traveling hundreds of millions of miles, bouncing off of Jupiter and coming all the way back to your eyeball. Why is that? What is that teaching us? That's God created a world where the divine light could be visible. The problem is that experiencing directly would blind you, would blind anybody. No, because we're not infinite, we're finite. So he created a world of creatures, that's you and me, who can be moons and planets to reflect that light. When we act properly, ethically, morally, spiritually, we reflect the divine light. And I compare it to a beautiful diamond, a beautiful gem with all these facets. And as you turn it through if you go to the Smithsonian Museum, they have this Hope Diamond. They have this little display case. It's like turning around, and they have these lights. And as it turns, you can see the different facets reflecting the light. Every one of you, every human being really, but especially every Jew, is a facet on the same diamond. And when you and I make spiritual choices with kavanah, with intent, we are reflecting that divine light, and it becomes this beautiful gem. And anyone, if there's a Jew out there who doesn't know this, look, there's like that one facet that's dull. You are a facet as much as I am, just as much as your rabbi is. Each one of us, the Torah doesn't belong to me any more than it does to you. You have a piece of it, I have a piece of it. We are all potential facets. And what our goal is to get our facets shiny and reflecting that divine light. And it doesn't take a long beard or years in yeshiva. All it takes is one mitzvah. Every time you do a mitzvah, bing, it's like that glimmer. You made a new shininess to your facet. So my challenge to you for Rosh Hashanah and this new year we're about to start is to appreciate your greatness as a facet on this Jewish gem. And think about, how can I become a little shinier in my role, right? What can I do that's a small step? It's not going to overwhelm me. It's not going to cause me to fail after a month or 3 months. I can really make it a permanent part. Well, does that mean I'm going to just say the Shema Yisrael once a day, which takes about 5 seconds? Or does it mean I'm going to light candles on Friday afternoon, 18 minutes before sunset? Whatever you choose to do, pick something that will cause your facet to be shiny. And hopefully, I'd like you to do it in a health and fitness area because that's the thing I'm promoting. But in the end of the day, as I'll quote Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg, that's all, blessed memory, who was the great Rosh Hashiva in Baltimore until his passing about 20 years ago or so. And I quote him, there's a lot of quotes here. I quote him in the chapter on exercise, but I'm going to maybe give you the whole quote now, because it's, I think, inspiring, and it really applies to all of us, no matter where we are in life, to think about this, if you'll indulge me. And this is really to your question about observant Jews, but it really applies to all of us. Because if you do one mitzvah, in my mind, you're an observant Jew. Rav Yaakov says, page 196, if you are an observant Jew, then you know that one of the really important things to do is to keep your body in top physical shape. That means stimulate the muscles, give it proper usage. That's one of the things you ought to be doing. Whether you pick mountain climbing on the weekends, whether you pick basketball, it doesn't really matter. That's already a question of which one do you enjoy more. But there's a need to do physical activity that will keep the muscle tone, the circulation, and everything else in good condition. Now here's the punchline. Unfortunately, what happens is that the other things that matter blind us to this, and most don't carry out their obligation to make sure that they have good physical condition. But it is an obligation that ought to be observed like all other mitzvahs. And you can say that about other aspects of health fitness, but that's a beautiful line. We get busy and we forget. So the challenge for all of us, myself included, I'm far, far from perfect, believe you me. But we all have a challenge to try to up the game a little bit, one step at a time. And if you want to know about the different aspects of health that we write, we got here a chapter on sleep, on vitamins, on hygiene, on, there's a little bit about smoking and vaping, although not a huge amount, maybe we should put more in, and so on and so forth. So I want to wish everybody a healthy, happy, sweet, and holy new year for you and your families and all of us and all the Jewish people and all the world.